Welcome into the 617 podcast. This time we have a little something different. We're going to go into the kayfabe critics portion of our portfolio to recap Survivor Series War Games that took place at the TD Garden in Boston. And to do that, we had to roll out the red carpet. We had to beg, we had to plead, but he's so gracious. The infamous Sarge Mike Riley from 98.5, the voice of the New England Revolution, is here with us. Sarge, salute to you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and honored to be here with you. Talk wrestling. I mean, it's a great thing when you can talk wrestling with everyone. It's a beautiful thing, and War Games this past weekend. I'm looking forward to. Let's dive right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, our producer Craig Delisandro does all the work here. I'm just the pretty face and the great voice. So, what I really wanted, Voice of Gillette Stadium. We can cut that.
Yeah. So, just the heads up. Voice of the Revs is Mr. Brad Feldman. He is the play-by-play for the Revolution. I'm a hybrid, so I do the Revolution and the Patriots. So thankfully, I'm very fortunate to be part of the Kraft family, Kraft Sports Entertainment. So it's a lot of fun.
Thank you for the correction. I will definitely take care of that. Take care of that in post. But Sarge and Craig, War Games, Survivor Series, TD Garden. Sarge and I were there. We were together. The first thing that I just want to point out is that's the most packed I've seen the TD Garden for a wrestling event in quite some time. And I think the anticipation was high. And to kick off Survivor Series with the women War Games match, Team Belair versus Team Damage Control, what were your thoughts on the atmosphere and of that overall match?
So I was actually also fortunate enough to be in the press conference after, and Paul Levesque, Triple H, Chief Content Officer of WWE, did make reference that was the largest WWE event at the TD Garden, 15,600 over in it for any WWE event. I was a little surprised at that. I thought WrestleMania 14 may have had a little more, right?
Smaller stage.
Yeah. Now, you got to think of something here, though. There's a little technicality. You got to remember when WrestleMania was here in 1998, it was WWF. Now it's WWE. So I'm just looking into the, in between the lines sort of thing there. But yeah, the crowd was great. I'm with you, Mike and Craig, and really hot the whole night. To go into the women's, I get just a couple of thoughts on that to answer your question. I was really hyped up for the event. I mean, first ever War Games, Survivor Series, the second oldest WWF, WWE pay-per-view behind WrestleMania, the tradition there. Survivor Series, in my opinion, the whole concept, the original concept, is antiquated. And the last few years, really, I was down on the pay-per-view. I'm like, what are we doing? What, like, Raw, SmackDown? And that's great. You can brag about it, but what do you get out of it? It's nothing like, Money in the Bank. You go to the top of the ladder, you climb down, you get the briefcase, and you have that contract. There's nothing on the line there for Survivor Series. So the fact that they put a little gasoline on the fire with the War Games concept is fantastic. Now, the women's match to open up the show, I loved all the participants there. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought the match was slow. I thought it was way too slow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I felt the same way because I didn't know how much time they were going to put between each entry, and it felt like there might have been. Now I don't know. I'm not an insider. I'm not as much of an insider as you are, for sure, Sarge.
No,
but it felt like the people in the ring were unaware of when they should do their spots, and as opposed to when the camera was going to be on them, when it was going to be on the countdown.
Exactly. I think there was something off there. And listen, Becky Lynch back. I love how she's back, and I think it's so much better that she's a face. I said that for the longest time last year. I hated when she was a heel. I understand the concept to, go face to face with Bianca Belair, but that may have been the loudest pop right there. Who jumped off the top? Was it Io Shirai?
Yeah.
Backflip. Yeah, that was awesome. That was probably the loudest part of the match there. It just seemed like something didn't gel with everyone there. It was just really slow. And maybe if they trim the fat a little bit for the 5 minutes in between participants, then the War Game starts, right? Maybe cut it down to 2 minutes or something,
Yeah.
5 minutes is a long time.
Yeah. And I thought, to your point, that the match was slow, or felt like it was slow at certain parts. I thought that the women did a great job building up to those big moments when Becky and Io both jumped off the top. Like, I thought that was great.
Yep.
I thought that they did a great job building up to us. To your point, it's a little weird, having the cage drop down, two people start, and then 25 minutes later the match starts.
Right. I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that because that's the tidbit for War Games. But yes, the 5 minutes, way too long in between. Cut it down to 2. It's almost like the NFL draft. You wait that long in between a pick. It's like, come on, cut to the chase.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Team Belair went over. They beat Team Damage Control. So, Craig, how do you feel about the overall match and the winner of this match?
I was surprised it went this way. If you read the reports coming out in the last couple of days, they're really going to put up Ripley up for the next couple of months in the WrestleMania. And I feel like they showcased her pretty well. I feel like they showcased pretty much all Damage Control and all the face. There was a couple of moves that didn't happen. I kind of expected that Alexa Bliss would have turned heel a lot earlier than I thought. It looks like they started it this Monday, but overall, I kind of expected Charlotte to come back instead of Becky Lynch last Friday. But that's not a bad thing that Becky Lynch came back. It's just that I'm with you with the whole. I understand they have a 3-hour pay-per-view fill, so the 25 minutes makes the 25 minutes makes sense. But this is a match. Just getting back to the whole concept of it, War Games is something I didn't ever really think we'd see in WWE. I understand they brought it back a couple of years ago for NXT and for kind of a test run, but that was something even before that. They were like, they brought an elimination chamber and stuff like that, and everyone's just like, yeah, but War Games just works, and we'll try it here in NXT. See if it worked out great down there. Triple H, he's another W.
Yeah,
spicing up Survivor Series.
Mike, can I just piggyback on Craig there for a second on that, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
So I think you hit the nail on the head with Triple H doing that, Craig, because he is a traditionalist and he's a guy that appreciates it, but he also understands the new wave of pro wrestling fans. So he's bringing back that tradition, but he also listens too. And I think Vince McMahon, of course, had his ways. He was so stuck in his ways where, no, GD pal, we're going to do this. And that's it. It was his way or the highway. And that's just how it was. But Triple H, I think, definitely understands. And Triple H has even hinted that, like, the pay-per-view Hell in a Cell might be gone altogether because what's the point of it? But he did say that, premium live event. Let's get that right.
That's right.
So it just like he wants more action in there. So I think that's a big thing there. And just also when you said Rhea Ripley, Craig, 100% agree. She has been totally skyrocketed to a new level since Triple H took over. When she was in those WrestleMania matches with Charlotte, and that was a good one there at 36. I still think Rhea Ripley should have won that. But, last year in the tag team match and so forth, wait a minute. Was she in a tag team match? I can't remember. She was with Nikki Cross. No, she fought Nikki Cross, right?
I think she just turned on her.
Yeah, she just turned on her. There you go. Yeah. Just stuff like that. Now you're really starting to see her develop to that next level. Bianca Belair said in the press conference, someone asked her, who would your dream opponents be at a WrestleMania? Rhea Ripley was one of them. And if Bianca Belair is still the champion, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley go head-to-head for the women's championship. Charlotte Flair was the other person she said too. So that could be a little foreshadow.
Yeah, historically, so the biggest pay-per-view that actually gives you a preview for WrestleMania is the Rumble, but they've always dropped tidbits at Survivor Series of what could be happening. I always reference 1993 when Owen went after Brett.
Right.
Like that set up that feud so perfectly.
At the Boston Garden.
Yeah, at the Garden. And you've had when Sting showed up and gave Dolph Ziggler the win in 2014 to set up that match against Triple H.
Oh, that was in Boston. I think that's right.
No, that wasn't in Boston, but I'm just they do these things.
I see what you're saying.
Where they give you a little bit of a tidbit of what could happen. And I love the gimmick that Rhea has now. I love the "Who's your mommy? I'm your mom." That's just, it's so good. Yeah. It's so good.
Isn't Judgment Day awesome?
Yeah. And I'm glad that they weren't turned into a comedy act or a laughing stock. And, that probably would have happened if the old man was still there.
Oh, yeah.
But they've done a great job. I think everyone in that faction contributes. So I thought Rhea was the star of War Games. And I give a lot of credit to, just to piggyback off you, to Triple H, because War Games looked a lot like Hell in a Cell in the traditional sense. So you're going to take off the top of the cage, make it look a little bit different. And I thought that they did a really good job, but it was much slower than the men's match later in the night, which we'll get to. But before we get to that, we had Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, who was kind of riding a Kurt Hawkins-like losing streak.
Yeah.
And he was, I thought it was a great match. I thought it was really cool to see two members of the Bullet Club, go toe to toe in person, because I'd never seen that before. But what did you think of Styles getting the win via pinfall?
I was a little surprised, to be honest with you. I thought they were going to ride this out a little more with Finn Balor, being, I guess you could say, would you put him as the leader of Judgment Day right now? Would you put him in?
I think it's Rhea. I think it's Rhea.
Yeah.
Rhea. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, well, he's definitely the male dominant voice. How's that?
Yeah, for sure.
It still kills me to this day that they took Edge away from there. I don't understand that after he built up the faction, but that's a story for a different day. But I'm not mad at this. So I'm happy that AJ Styles won. I love AJ Styles. And I still think that AJ is a higher level performer than Finn Balor, in my opinion. And I think
Absolutely.
right. And it just seemed like he really needed that win ever since his feud with Edge. So I think it was a refreshing, one-on-one situation there. And you know what? I'd be okay to see AJ and Finn Balor go head-to-head again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think I love the fact that they brought back, we'll call them the Bullet Club, but the OC. And they brought back Mia Yim Minshin. Yep. Now it's actually two factions. I think for the longest time, this could lead to a pretty big diatribe. So I'm going to try not to.
Yeah.
What we've been missing in WWE are formidable factions.
Absolutely.
And we have two of them right now. I would say maybe even three, obviously the Bloodline. Hit Row could be a good one if they add another one to that stable.
Totally.
But I think that both of those teams still look strong, even when somebody loses, like a Finn Balor. He's not really hurt by that because he lost to AJ Styles.
Yep, absolutely, and that doesn't. You're right, and that's a good thing there. They both know each other so well. The Bullet Club, the history on that there. So and they work well together. That's exactly the whole scenario right there. So I'm okay with AJ Styles winning, and I'd like to see more of those two go head to head.
Yeah, we need more of that.
Yeah.
Moving on to the SmackDown Women's Championship match.
Oh.
Thank you. Is that the word that we could use to describe this?
Dude, I can't believe I'm saying this about Ronda Rousey. And can I just go on my soapbox there for a moment?
Please.
There's a problem with Ronda Rousey. And when she's your most popular star, let me phrase it. Let me just put it this way. I mean, I for wrestling fans, I think we'd all say Roman Reigns is the most popular star, right?
Yeah.
But for people that don't watch wrestling on a weekly basis, like you and I, all of us here, and if you mention the name Ronda Rousey, people know who she is, right? That's the first one. If you can't get her up to the same stage as Roman Reigns, something's going on here. There's a problem. And maybe she's just, I don't know, it's just not over with the crowd, maybe. It's not the same Ronda Rousey since she returned last year at the Royal Rumble. And Shotzi's, great spot for her. Not taking anything away from her here with Ronda Rousey being the same ring as her. But it's clear that she is not ready for a big spot like that. And maybe that was a little testing ground here to do it at a Survivor Series and not a WrestleMania, a SummerSlam. But Ronda Rousey, though, still something is way off here, and I can't put a finger on it. I can't figure it out.
So just to join you on that soapbox, I think the problem, Sarge, is that Ronda Rousey is not, and I don't mean this in a bad way. You don't put Ronda Rousey in a match with anybody else to get the other person over.
Yep.
You can't do that. I mean, Ronda is the female Brock Lesnar. She is so good at so many at select things that you have to have. I might regurgitate, but you have to have Charlotte, because Charlotte can have a 5-star match with like a broom. We know that.
Yep.
Ronda can pick her spots really, really, really carefully, and she can shine, like in that match with Angle and Triple H and Stephanie. That was amazing. And I think this really hurt Shotzi, not losing to her, but the crowd turned on Shotzi. They turned on both of them the entire match.
Crowd was cheering for Sasha Banks.
Oh, I just would have loved that. I would have too. Prepared.
Yeah, it would have been a nice pop, but they were cheering for Sasha.
Right. You have Ronda freaking Rousey in a ring in Boston. And because everything that was happening in the ring, in my opinion, was so unbelievable in a bad way.
Yep.
The crowd just lost it.
Not good.
Craig, what are your thoughts on Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi?
I didn't even really think a really perfect spot for Sasha to return. I didn't at all. I forgot that she was from Boston because she's been gone for so long. And she leaves her, believe certain things. She'll be back soon or not. Who really
compare?
Right.
That's pretty much sentiment I would have on Ronda Rousey. Is pretty much when she first debuted last year after the Royal Rumble, after the Rumble when Asuka won. I felt like she had a great run, but since the second return, since she got back from her pregnancy, I think last Royal Rumble, the spark's just not there.
This is why I get so mad at people that, sorry, Sarge, but I get so mad at people that bitch about Brock not showing up on every pay-per-view, but they still watch him show up because he's must-see.
He's must-see. And you know what? The other thing, too, here with Ronda Rousey, if you guys remember last year after the Royal Rumble, after she won, she challenged Charlotte, right? And I think a lot of people were expecting her to challenge Becky. And and that now I think back to your point there, Mike, where you said that the Survivor Series kind of gets the seeds planted a little bit for WrestleMania. I wouldn't say it's been planted 100% for Ronda Becky this year, but I would say all indications are that we're probably going to get a Ronda Becky, and Ronda may need that for WrestleMania because Becky's a face now and Ronda is not. Yeah. So if you have Becky as the baby face and Ronda as your heel, and Becky chase for the title again, you could very easily throw her on SmackDown. That's not a problem right there.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Can we talk about the match of the night? My opinion of the match of the night.
I think I know what you're going to say, but thank you. Me too.
The triple threat: Rollins versus Lashley versus Austin Theory. I thought, first of all, anything that Seth Rollins does, I'm in. Absolutely in. And he can get it over. He's proven that he can get whatever he wants over. I think for whatever reason, Bobby Lashley has never been given the dominant run that he was given in TNA in WWE. Like, that guy is an ass kicker. Just let him be that. Give him a mouthpiece. Don't make him do stupid promos, which they're getting better at. And then Austin Theory, who I think he just has all the things that you can't teach. And he does them really, really well. And I thought the match from start to finish, I thought it flew by. I couldn't take my eyes off it. And then at the end, when Theory won to win the title, I thought it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. What was your favorite? I guess, was it a surprise to you that Theory won? And what were your overall feelings on the match?
Well, so I'm with you too. That's my match of the night too. And I fully own this, that I am very partial to Theory. And that's, and again, I will own it because I had the honor of interviewing him earlier this summer. We had a bromance and he took a shot at Jay Stu, which was hysterical. And then last week we had a public event over at Cradles of Crayons. He was part of that. Jimmy was there as well covering it. And they had a little face-to-face. So it was funny, the whole thing there. So I'm just owning the fact that I'm Austin Theory's president fan club right there of his fan club. And I'm just so happy for him because 2 weeks ago, there he is, goes cash in his money in the bank, loses for the U.S. title. It's like, oh, God, they're killing his career. But then here he is 2 weeks later. I'm with you. I thought Rollins would have retained, no problem. Here's Austin Theory out there and comes out of nowhere to win the match, which was great. And if anything, that's only going to keep propelling him. He's got a new attitude. He's a champion. And listen, you're absolutely right with Seth Rollins. Anything he does, I think Seth Rollins is one of the most underappreciated performers, wrestlers of our time. And anything he does, anything he's asked to do, he does it really good. And again, underappreciated, totally under the radar for what he does. So if he's willing to put over a guy like Austin Theory, give him the title like that, that says a lot about Seth Rollins. And a guy like Seth Rollins too, he deserves a shot at a championship, the world championship at some point.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I thought at the end of this match, right, the Lashley spearing Rollins when he had Theory in for a Falcon Arrow, that's the perfect way to protect everybody.
Yep.
And I thought that they did a great job. The crowd loved it. Craig, I'm wondering, are you on the Austin Theory bandwagon like the rest of us?
I was so supremely worried. The first thing that happened when Vince retired 4 or 5 months ago at this point, like, well, that's the Austin Theory. Never see him again. Never see him in a prominent position again. And then that's what they proceeded to do for the number of months. Just started burying him. And this is, of course, he won Money in the Bank before Vince retired, so he still had that. And, obviously, no one was going to buy that Theory was going to cash it on Roman Reigns and be victorious. Then he sees it down in NXT with Braun Breaker. It was cool that he cashed a mid-card title, which they view now as the title on Raw, since they don't have a world champion right now. And so I'm very happy for him. I thought that it was going to be the ultimate burial, but the fact that he is metamorphized has changed so much.
That's a word.
From the selfie to what he is to that promo with Seth Rollins on Monday. A hell of a change. That's a former world kind of change. Future world champion kind of change I see in him.
Well, and to Craig's point too, with him cashing in there the U.S. title and going for it there and now winning it, and with Vince McMahon as well when he was in charge, and that would be the end of him. I think you have to look at with the Triple H regime here that he's given a shot of life into the United States Championship, into the Intercontinental title as well. So those titles mean something again. Before, they were like, oh gosh, I forgot we have an Intercontinental champion. I forgot we have a U.S. champion. Now they have significant meaning to it, especially when you do try to cash in the Money in the Bank there for the U.S. title, which had never happened before.
Right.
And obviously, that was a true foreshadow. So WWE does that a lot, especially with Triple H. You got to look carefully through it, pay attention, because what may happen before turns out to be a clue as to what will happen, say not that same night, but maybe down the line. And of course, that was the case here.
Yeah. I think that Theory is a star. And I think if you do it the right way, like, he will print money for you. Yep. Just like everybody said about Roman now 8 years ago, but they just took too long to make him the badass heel that he is now. By the way, that isn't food. Like, he's right. He's reached that where people actually love him now, so they're cheering him when he's a bad guy. They need to do that. They need to just be really careful with Theory. And I know that Vince, he missed more than he hit in the last, we'll call it 15 years, but when he hit, he hit.
He really did. And Theory, he's one of those guys right there. And he saw something in him. He believed in him. And it was similar to Roman, where Vince tried like hell to get Roman over when he was a face. And
succotash.
So, and it just, that still rebelled by the crowd. Didn't work. And then finally, probably the best thing that happened to Roman Reigns was the pandemic, because it just improved his microphone skills in front of the Thunderdome. no crowd, and they were able to, have that fan reaction, the true boos, the heat on him, and the crowd reaction and so forth. That may have been the best thing for him, and look at where he is right now. So it's fascinating to see how it's all played out here, and maybe we're seeing the beginning of that with Austin Theory over the next couple of years.
You also saw a glimpse of Roman and his ability to have a crowd in the palm of his hands after he beat The Undertaker. He got booed for 5 straight minutes. All he said was, "This is my yard now."
Yes.
That's a very easy line, but the way that he delivered it was perfect. So they should have went with that.
I still hate that fact that he beat The Undertaker. I can't believe that. Undertaker should have been, man.
He should have been the first. In reality,
yeah.
I get why Brock did it, because that's a whole nother thing.
Should have been the first. Yeah, but just 2 in a row, Undertaker to lose, that's a story for a different day, but that really pissed me off, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but he had the Bray and Shane matches in between those two L's. So I mean, it could have been a lot worse, but it does take us to the final match of the 5 matches on the card, because obviously the War Games matches were so long. This is the Bloodline versus the Brawling Brutes. I thought going into this match, I think Sami Zayn is the most entertaining person on WWE television, and I think we all read a year ago that Roman said to an interviewer, "We need to get Sami on TV more." And now he's part of that faction. And I thought that you have the biggest star, like you said, Sarge, in WWE in this match. But the entire focal point was, will Sami turn on Kevin, or will he actually join him? And that's a testament to his star power.
And it didn't happen until the end of the match.
Yep.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens didn't go face to face toward the end. They had no contact with each other. So that effect, that psychological effect right there in your brain, questioning, you're right. Is he going to turn on Owens? Is this going to be it? Or excuse me, he's going to turn on the Bloodline and join Owens. And that was, he told Roman backstage that he had his back, and he did. But the way to stop the referee count right there was just fascinating. So many storylines in that match right there.
Yeah.
Because, right, you look at the one that I still go with here, the big one for me personally is Solo Sikoa and Drew McIntyre, because Solo Sikoa screwed over Drew at Clash at the Castle. On his home turf right there. And again, Roman Reigns, this guy can't lose. So it's really, here he is, the Bloodline right here with Sami Zayn to save him, not to get pinned. Roman Reigns has not been pinned in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing,
insane.
right? So they absolutely protected him right there in that situation. So a lot of great storylines right there. I can tell you this, from what I was told, Roman Reigns is battling a lot of injuries right now. He's really, if you look carefully, he was the last entrant into the War Games, and that was done on purpose for obviously the star effect, but also to keep him rested. He's on a limited schedule right now. He's hurt. But he's working through the injury and doing the best he can. So that's why you only see him on big shows and so forth, especially premium live events. And that was the last premium live event until the Royal Rumble. So a little time off for him there till the main TVs are on him. So it's just really the Bloodline. I'll say this, to your point, Sami Zayn, I think that pay-per-view was built around him, the premium live event. Him and Rhea Ripley, two most important people there from what I got out of it. And I think that Sami Zayn, I don't think he needs a title, but I think Solo Sikoa is going to need a title at some point, because that's the whole faction of the Bloodline here. And it just begs me to ask the question. I'll pose it to you guys if you don't mind.
Sure.
Will Sami Zayn turn, will the Bloodline turn on Sami Zayn before WrestleMania or something?
Craig?
See, I've been thinking this too, because obviously this all needs to come to a head at some point, and it's going to be a spectacle no matter what it is. But
I've
been racking my brain for the last couple of months about the way this is going to end up. I think we're heading to a crescendo at WrestleMania, but we need to get to the road in order to get there first. Right. And a lot of things need to be said. So, between there is an Elimination Chamber match, the Toronto they're going to have coming up in Montreal.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Sorry. And then the Royal Rumble, a couple of shows in between that. There's going to be some major thunderstorms to come up, and I think that those two involve Sami Zayn costing somebody. If it was me, it'd be him costing Bloodline somewhere. If I'm fantasy book, I have him costing somebody in the Bloodline something. He ends up back with Kevin Owens and going for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. This is the way I would book it. If you read the tea leaves, the way that's probably heading towards WrestleMania, Sami Zayn's going to be heavily involved in the entire thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So to your question, Sarge, here's what I would do. I think we're all hoping and praying that this leads to Roman versus The Rock at Mania. Right? I hope it does. Okay. I really hope it does. So
it's one of two.
Here's how I would do this. Similar to the NWO Hogan versus The Rock, where after the match, I think Roman wins. I think that they actually celebrate together. Like he gives them a hug, whatever. The Bloodline doesn't like it. The next night, there's a title match, and the Bloodline turns on Roman.
Wow. Okay, I like that storyline there, but that's a tough one.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Let me just look at the whole picture here with The Rock, and let's try to be as realistic as possible here, okay? Put the fanboy pants away. Put it all away. You got to be from a business standpoint now. The Rock is at the top of his game in Hollywood, right?
Yep.
It's going to cost WWE a lot of money to get him. Can they get him? Sure. Do they want to spend that money? You got to think about that. The other thing with The Rock, he's acting now, and there's a thing called insurance with acting. So if he gets hurt, that might be that's it. You saw the last time The Rock had a competitive match in WWE. Do you remember when it was?
It was a WrestleMania 29. I think he tore his pec when doing the Rock Bottom.
And he is not any younger anymore, folks. So, sure, the name there, Rock and Roman Reigns face to face, I get it. Is it worth it though? For one night, is it worth it?
Can I counter you for 1 second?
Sure.
Doesn't because of what we saw with Austin and KO last year, doesn't that just mean that The Rock doesn't have to go out there and actually technically have a wrestling match? He can just throw his punches. He can just work up the crowd.
Yeah, but do you have to do it for the title? Because they're not going to take the title off of Roman Reigns before WrestleMania. That's just not going to happen. He's got 820 days now, whatever it is. They want to get him to 1,000. I think that's the goal. I really do. So to have The Rock go up there against Roman Reigns and lose, that ain't going to happen. No. And I don't think The Rock would do that for Roman. I don't. I think he is. I just don't think he would come back to lose like that in Los Angeles. I think there's a very good chance The Rock goes into the Hall of Fame this year. I will say that. And sure, if he is to go in, he'll be a part of WrestleMania somehow. But I really think you're doing a disservice to your current talent. If you have The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, I think you're doing a disservice. We just named off Kevin Owens. You named off Seth Rollins. You named off Sami Zayn. Some of those guys there. We haven't even talked about Bray Wyatt. He's back, right?
Yeah.
Braun Strowman. I'm not just saying those could be some of the guys to go. Cody Rhodes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can't. I'm with you. I'm with you on the right. I get what you're saying, Mike. I do. But I'm just looking at it for the whole business standpoint. I'm going to put the kibosh on him.
I might just put one leg back into the fanboy pants because I think that they want to actually sell out that stadium 2 nights in a row. I
agree.
I think that with that premium live event being on Peacock and with The Rock's show being on NBC, that they can work out a deal over there to make sure that he gets paid, he's safe, whatever. But to put the most eyes on this event, The Rock he has to be there. He has to.
Oh, he will, and I think he will. I think he'll have some sort of thing. I mean, look at last year, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right.
You talk about that. That's his home state, Texas. There's also, did you guys do the rumors on Austin too?
Yeah,
he's getting ready for another match too.
Yeah, he might be fighting again, which is amazing. I'd love to see. I mean, I don't think he'd fight The Rock. I could see him fighting like a John Cena. That would be cool. Even a celebrity like a Logan Paul sort of thing. Something
I think
like
Austin's at this point in his life where he has to be pretty selective of who he gets in the ring with, especially if he's going to take a bump. And when you saw take that suplex on the concrete, that just means that he trusted KO. He's not going to trust Logan Paul to do that.
I still see that spot in Maris.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like I expected a confrontation.
Yeah.
And I even expected a match, but when he said it, and when I saw the two knee braces on, I'm like, oh my God, like he's actually this is going to be a real match. And it was.
Right.
He did a great job.
Well, let's just hope it's not Goldberg and Austin, because Goldberg almost killed The Undertaker, for crying out loud. And we know what he did to Bret Hart too. Yeah. Bret is still very bitter about that, and rightfully so. He should be.
I mean, absolutely. It cost him millions of dollars, and we don't need to go too far into that. But what's the follow-up from Survivor Series for you?
Well, I'll tell you right now, again, I know you mentioned going back to 93 with the Owen Hart, Bret Hart thing. And I think there's a lot of things from that men's war game match there that gets the ball rolling here for WrestleMania. And again, I'm going to go back to Sami Zayn. I think he was like the MVP of the whole show. So I think that really sets up, and like Craig mentioned too, the Elimination Chamber is in Montreal. That's his home country. That him and Kevin Owens both are from Canada. Owens, by the way, huge Habs fan. Huge Canadian.
He'd be perfect.
Yeah, oh yeah, as he should. But it's his home state, home country. But I think that really sets up something for WrestleMania stipulation. Maybe those two have a match. It could be like a no holds barred. Maybe you, I don't know, have like a triple threat with Roman somehow and get one of the titles off him where you can still protect him, not pinning him. So, get maybe the one of them on Raw, one on SmackDown, instead of keeping them unified, which I still think is silly to unify them. I just, if you're going to do that, then get rid of the whole brand split. That's it.
Right.
So I think that's the whole thing there. Sami Zayn, watch out for Rhea Ripley. I think she's going to have a big WrestleMania moment too. Those are my two big ones there. But again, overlooming here in the background, they keep teasing it on these videos. Cody Rhodes trying to win the title his father could never win. So that's all still coming out here now. And my guess is Cody will have a big part in the Royal Rumble.
I hope so. I truly hope so. Craig, actually, I have a question. One more for you, Sarge. I promise I'll leave one more.
No, you're fine. This is great. This is like free therapy. I love this.
That's why we have a show.
Can you explain to me why Bray Wyatt, Nikki Cross, and a few others were just left off?
Well, I mean, you could have put them in a spot with, instead of Ronda Rousey, that's for sure. But I can't give you an answer why. But I will say this: that the concept of the Survivor Series War Games, 5 matches, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. So just you can't fit everything into one show there and those guys. So I think that just leaves the door open for a huge Royal Rumble where they'll definitely have a big spot there. Did you need them in one of those matches? I don't think so, because I think the attraction was the war games, the cage, the 2 rings. And I don't think you needed them in there for that. I think you would need them more for over the next month here, because December, nothing's happening. And in the past, December premium live events were nothing special. There's also no New Year's Day event this year, day one.
Yeah, no, day one.
Which I'm okay with. I like that the old-fashioned way, build up to a big show. And the Royal Rumble is, I think it's the second biggest show behind WrestleMania. I really do. I know they put SummerSlam at that, but I'd say Royal Rumble is right there. So I don't think you really needed them on there. I think you're going to see them more over the next month to get more attraction as we get ready for the Royal Rumble.
Craig, do you have something you want to say?
I'm just looking forward.
Give me the face.
I'm just looking forward to this year's Royal Rumble that I have any year, because with Triple H at the helm, he's got to make like a big statement in his first WrestleMania, and that starts the Royal Rumble. I imagine Cody Rhodes will be coming back. They got to set up something with Bray Wyatt to see where, we've all seen the meeting with Triple H. He's going to do something with all those guys, see what he's going to do with them. And, all that starts at Royal Rumble. So, it comes up in like 2 months. Going to be very interested to see what these characters develop. I imagine that they'll do a Bray Wyatt LA Knight match for that. That's a one-off, or if that continues. But things are cooking right now, and I'm going to be interested to see where they all are.
It's really amazing to see how Triple H has gone full circle, because I'll tell you right now, I was told almost a year ago in February when right after the Royal Rumble, my partner James Stewart reported that Shane McMahon booked himself to win the Royal Rumble. Jimmy reported that he had that nugget, and I think he was onto something. And when Shane McMahon booked himself to win the Royal Rumble, I was like, what the hell are we doing here? And that event was like kind of whatever. Brock Lesnar wins, Ronda Rousey both come back. I was like, what the hell are we doing here? Shane apparently booked himself to win, and I was told at that time that Triple H had no say anymore. And that was, shortly after he retired from in-ring, performances because of his heart situation. Thankfully, he's okay. So there was I was told Triple H may have been offered an executive job with Disney or NBC Universal, because as we know, Vince just had his toys and didn't want to share them with anyone. As we know, that's just his way of the highway. Sure as heck enough, everything comes out. Vince has to resign. Who's the best one to go in charge? Stephanie with the business, Triple H with the creative, and Nick Khan also with the business too. So it all worked out in the end. Everything happens for a reason, I guess. And it's for a wrestling fan from where we were a year ago now, AEW was in a totally different spot. I think a little more popular.
Yeah.
That's totally turned. The tide has changed. WWE is at the top of its game right now. AEW, I'm sorry to say it, it's really an afterthought after WWE right now.
Yeah, I think a year ago we were looking at AEW as, okay, well, this is a fan that has a lot of money and he's doing the right things, right? Like the whole summer of Punk, that was awesome.
Yep.
Now he kind of looks, and I always, there should always be 2 big companies. That's better for the industry, I believe.
Correct.
This looks a lot like the bad days of Eric Bischoff, just spending somebody else's money. Like, he has all this talent. He's not really, Keith Lee should be a world champion.
Should be a world champ. 100%.
That's it. Man, he's the tag team.
Yep. He should be a world champ. Adam Cole, I know, is coming back. You got to try to figure out a way to book him better. I think that essentially what could be the dagger for AEW was that CM Punk press conference in Chicago. That was terrible.
It was awful.
And you legitimately let the inmates run the asylum without any discipline. And that you say whatever you want about WWE. That doesn't happen in WWE. It's just not going to. So I think Tony Khan wanted to kind of be everyone's friend, if you will. You can't do that. You got to put friendship aside and be a boss. And that was not the situation there.
The worst thing about the worst press conference is Tony Khan was the whole time like, what's going on? What's happening?
Because what's he going to do?
Crazy.
Yeah. Back in the day, Vince would have knocked the person who was saying that out No one would dare say that we're next to Triple H right now. And now we're at a spot where Triple H was a lifelong wrestling fan, dedicated his life to being a great performer, built up a developmental territory, and is now in charge. Like, he has it.
He's earned it. He's
I mean, let's start that little Rated Terror thing from 2002 to 2005. Like, he's always been pretty good. My two final questions. I'm telling the truth this time.
No, please.
When will there be a SummerSlam at Fenway Park?
Do you really want it at Fenway Park?
Yes.
Serious?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why? Give me 30 seconds. Why? Go.
Because I want Ricochet to jump off the monster.
Oh, stop.
But in all actuality, I think that, it'd be cool to be at Gillette, but that Gillette looks like every other stadium. I'm sorry about that, but I'm not trying to go after the place that you're the voice of. But can you think of a more iconic image than one of the biggest events in wrestling at America's most beloved ballpark? I think that it just looks amazing.
Okay, so I'm going to piss a lot of people off here. If I had my way, if I had my way, I would burn Fenway down tomorrow. I can't. Yeah, I think it's just right. Yeah, thank you, Craig. It's 110 years old. Listen, we're just build a museum there. You can keep home plate and the monster. That's fine, but it's too old. Sit in those seats. You're looking out at your broken neck after watching 9 innings. So you want to put a wrestling there? And the Winter Classic is there in 2023, and they're trying to make every little bit of money off of the whole ballpark. John Henry and that whole organization, it's a problem when your ballpark is more popular than your baseball team. Don't get me wrong. Fenway has a lot of history. That's great, but I'm sorry. You cannot have a wrestling event there. And in fact, you're also playing with fire to have SummerSlam outdoors in Boston in the summertime. 1, the heat, and 2, you could have bad weather. They really played with fire this past year in Nashville. I was really surprised they did that. I think here on out, you got to do it in a dome. You're going to have to because it's too risky.
You just got to shut all over that one, huh?
Yeah, I can't. I mean, listen, I'm with you. I think the backdrop would be cool. Don't get me wrong. The Green Monster would be beautiful. But from a financial standpoint, if you really want SummerSlam in Boston at an outdoor venue, it's going to be Foxborough over Boston because you can fit more people there. I mean, look at Foxborough's getting that new. We're getting that new outdoor video board. It's going to be the largest in North America coming next year.
Yep.
Right. We got the Army Navy game next year. We have the World Cup in 4 years. So, it's pretty exciting to be at Gillette Stadium right now. I think that would be the play. And I can tell you this, WrestleMania 33, this is a fact. WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, Gillette Stadium was a finalist. They did not get it. Orlando got
Really?
Yep. That's confirmed.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they lucked out with MetLife. I mean, they twice.
So again, you're playing with and I was surprised. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say my next question.
Were you there for any of those, by the way, at MetLife?
I've never been to a WrestleMania. It's the only one that I've never been to. I could have gone in '98 with my dad, and I was a huge Shawn Michaels fan. The internet was early on in its infancy about the dirt sheets.
Right.
He got wind Shawn was going to lose, and once that happened, I'm like, I'm not going. Yeah. I'm not. I can't be there for that. And
he was in a bad spot at the time. Too.
Well, I was 10. So
I got you.
It broke. I only watched the Attitude Era, and I watched every episode, but I always told myself I only watch it because he came back as commissioner. Like, he was my favorite guy.
So that's one of the greatest mysteries of all time too. You're a big Shawn Michaels guy, huh?
It's huge.
Okay, so one of the greatest mysteries is December '98 when Mankind won the title in Worcester.
Oh, in Worcester, I know. I was there.
Okay, do you remember what happened to Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, he got taken out of the parking lot. Yeah.
What the hell happened? And they just broke it off. Yeah, who did that? Was that...
Didn't matter. Yeah, I don't know why they
said it was a corporation, but they just wrote him off. I'm like, that was one of the greatest mysteries. They never built on that.
There was no follow-up.
Yeah, I thought DX turned on him. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. It was weird. So, and what killed me too, even the night after WrestleMania that year, Triple H gets on the microphone and he goes, you turn to your friends, and he almost like turned his back on Shawn. I'm like, wow.
It was a dark time for me as a 10-year-old. I took that Monday off
got
of
you,
school.
buddy.
It was a bereavement day.
I did too, but I was actually celebrating. I went to bed late. That's why. So I was at WrestleMania.
Oh God. How was the Undertaker one-man show, and what are the highlights? What's the biggest highlight
from the show? With the biggest highlight of Undertaker show? Well, okay, I Undertaker's my favorite of all time, and I fully own that there. So I'm going to be one-sided on it. There were a lot of people that, and I'll be a homer. I'm going to just put that out there. A lot of people said that I wish he gave a little more, which personally I think he could have. But you got to remember the show started at 10:30 at night, and
really?
I think they were trying. Yeah, so the original plan was to have SmackDown at the Garden, but they couldn't get it because the Celtics were playing Friday night, and they were going to have everyone go to the show after. But what they tried to do, they tried to parlay it where they get fans from the Celtics game going into the Undertaker show after. And 10:30 at night, it was just a long night, but I really enjoyed it. He talked about his career and so forth, gave a couple of good story. The big highlight for me, Paul Bearer being a dick, a sneaky dick. Like, there was one time. So first of all, Undertaker hates cucumbers. You mentioned the word cucumbers.
Yeah, I've heard that story. Yeah,
you heard that? All right, yeah. So Paul Bearer ribbed him one time.
Yeah,
put a cucumber in his tea. You ever hear this?
Yeah.
Yep. So all right, so Taker got absolutely pissed. So Taker's driving the car. They're going from one town to another. They're in Seattle, and Paul Bearer really had to go to the bathroom. So Taker's like, all right, I got you. I know where the gas station is. So Paul Bearer's like, oh, you got to go down this way. And Paul Bearer's like, take a right. And Taker goes, no, it's down this way. Goes to the left. And Paul Bearer's like, oh, I could have swore it's back that way. No, I know it's right here. Paul Bearer's like, I really got to go. He didn't stop the car until Paul Bearer went to the bathroom in his pants. And he goes, that's what you get for putting a cucumber in my tea. So he goes, you make sure you don't do that again. So like, Paul Bearer, I guess, was a dirty little ribby. He knew how to break some balls.
Yeah, Percy was always known for that. That's what they all say, right?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yep.
Sarge, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this episode. Before I let you go, push some promotion. Tell us where we can find you, what you got going on.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Mike and Craig. I really appreciate it, and love to jump on here again with you guys if you ever need it again. So thanks for
absolutely
thinking of me, and definitely, Craig, have you been to a WrestleMania?
I've been to nearly as Mike as you have. I've been to one Raw my entire life.
No way.
Yeah.
One Raw. What do you remember? Which one?
Yeah, it was the Raw. It was down at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence. It was the night when Stephanie McMahon announced the first male Royal Rumble.
Okay, December of 2017, the night after Clash of the Champions.
Yes.
Yep. I think
Brock Lesnar was there. I was very happy.
Was that the one Roman announced he had cancer?
No, I wasn't at that one.
Okay. That was the year after then. Okay, all right. So that was October 2018.
Right.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There was also in Providence too.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend both of you guys to go to WrestleMania. I think you really should. And
Philly.
Yeah, I was gonna say LA is gonna be a little pricey. Not gonna lie to you, just California in general. But I think that's a good play by you, Philadelphia. It's essentially same drive Boston to New York. It's about an hour longer to Philly. So I would definitely do that if I were you guys. So that's my first piece of advice for you. Now it's 2 nights you can work on that. But definitely thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm over at the Sports Hub occasionally. Right now, very busy during the football season. Gillette Stadium public address announcer, Patriots and Revolution. We're recording the night before the Patriots and Bills on a Thursday night game. And if this gets out before, you want to watch. Okay. Shameless plug. You're going to want to watch the Amazon Prime pregame show tomorrow. I had quite a recording on that. So check it out today. Check it out before the game. Yeah, I think you guys will like that. But if you need me for voiceovers, I also host trivia and music bingo on the side. I'm at a bar weekly in Newton if you ever want to come by, and I can do private corporate events, I'm booked like through 2024 right now for a lot of private events on that. So you ever need me? Great for company outings, holiday parties. Quite a few Boston Marathon runners are using the trivia concept for a fundraiser. It's really good. So if you ever want that, keep me in mind. And at Sarge95 on Twitter and Instagram. And you guys are awesome. I appreciate you. And I can't wait to hear the replay here and hopefully be able to join you again if I'm lucky.
Yeah, I mean, you were always have an open invitation, Sarge. Thank you so much for joining us. So for Craig D'Alessandro,
maybe a Royal Rumble preview, huh?
We do the big four. So you are whenever you want. The door is always open.
Let's go,
Craig D'Alessandro and Mike Sarge Riley. This is Michael Marcangelo saying thank you so much for listening to this episode of Kayfabe Critics on the 617 podcast. Now go enjoy the rest of your night, and that's an order.